Pete Townshend doesn't play many solos, which is probably why so many people just don't realize how good of a player he is and how important he was to rock guitar. Here are a few of his best moves that I've been able to incorporate into my play. You can too. For about a year during junior high school, I was an absolute Who freak. They were just about the only band I listened to. And Pete Townshend was my very first guitar hero. I was just cutting my teeth on rock guitar, learning riffs long before I thought of soloing, and Pete was perfect at that time for my learning. Pretty soon Jimmy Page would capture my interest, but I was lucky that Pete was my first guitar role model. Here are some of the things that Pete did that I was able to put into my play and I still use today. First, Pete was an extremely aggressive player. Some say he basically invented power chords, but he took it further than that, altering simple chords in riffs like this. Or this. Classic riffs. Here's what's going on. As an example, here's an ordinary E chord. Now we know a power chord is just the bottom three strings. But musically what's going on with a power chord is you take the third out of the chord. In E, that's the G sharp. But Pete just took this a lot further. Instead of just playing this power chord, he would go further by blocking the G string and play this. Or even go whole hog and play the fourth fret on the G string, that B there, like this. Glorious. Such a huge, clear sound. And his way of playing G and A influenced lots of other rockers. But that's not all. The next trick I took from Pete was his tell, you know, like in poker. And this one is truly simple. Now, lots of players, myself included, have a hard time accepting that you need to be thinking about the next chord you're playing before you actually play it. And here was how Pete did that. It's really simple. Once you hear it, you'll never forget it. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. It's super aggressive. And he does it in lots of other songs too. Strumming a couple times before he hits you with that big chord on the first beat of the measure. It's like this. Where that third strum is the first beat of the measure. It's a little tricky at first, but once you get it, and it really makes your play sound aggressive. But the next trick has even more character, and it's pure Pete. You can hear it in the Tommy era on songs like Sparks, and on Quadrophenia on songs like I've Had Enough. It's a drone note using a moving chord. So cool. Andy Summers of The Police says that Pete got it from Miles Davis. Maybe, but you don't have to study jazz to understand and use this trick. This D major chord has two roots, one on the D string and one on the B string. Now we can keep that open D string going and then move our root on the B string up a scale, say the D minor scale. Or you could use the D minor pentatonic scale. It doesn't matter. It's a really interesting technique that you can try out and use to get some interesting sounds without really much theory. But if you like theory, there are some interesting tidbits in there. For example, playing this F major triad on top of a D note effectively gives you a D minor 7 chord. So moving from D to F is like moving major to minor. But even if you have no interest in theory, you can still use this idea. And that leads us to another super easy and cool trick. Pete often used to use this in his solos or his chord breaks. A perfect example is this killer lick from Won't Get Fooled Again. This idea works really well in edgy rock tunes. Here the progression is A, G, and back to A. But instead of just playing an A, we can move up a minor third or 3 frets and play that chord instead, in this case a C. And that gives it a real edgy sound. And then we can come back down on the A minor pentatonic to get back to our A chord. Just a few of Pete's tricks that you can use. But if you want more simple tricks from the classic rock masters, click here. Because they invented rock guitar, so they knew all the simple tricks that you can use. So click here. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll see you on down the road.